I am a 25-year-old female electrician. I started my apprenticeship at 17 and was hired immediately by my sponsor after I received my license. The reason I chose a trade was that I grew up in a trailer with my mom and sister, and I have wanted to own a house since I can remember, and being in the trades gave me access to a stable job and access to more money sooner. My partner, Thea, who is 29 years old and female, is a plumber, and we have scrounged and saved. In the end, we bought land and built a tiny house in the uptown area of our city. It has 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. One of the bedrooms is our reptile room, as I keep snakes and Thea keeps bearded dragons. We are child-free and happy in our home. My sister Lucy, who is 34 years old and female, is a waitress and has 3 kids. Her kids are 4 years old, 3 years old, and 2 years old. Her husband just left her for a woman my age, and she is left without his income to raise all 3 kids on her own. Her husband bought out her half of the house during the divorce, and that left her and the kids living with my mom in the trailer. I can admit I didn't grow up in the safest of areas and was carrying a knife when I was a teenager because of the danger. Because of the safety issue, Lucy came to Thea and me and begged us to let her and her sons move in. She said we would have to get rid of our reptiles or keep them in our room. Her sons could have the other bedroom, and she would sleep in our kitchen on an air mattress. She said nothing about paying us rent or helping around the house. I told her no, because 2 toddlers and a little kid who is about to start kindergarten aren't suitable to be in our home, and we don't want too many people in our house. She said that we live in a better part of town with better schools, and that she needed the help. I told her we didn't have the room and that I was sorry, but I could hook her up with some journeymen I know, and she could get started on an apprenticeship that pays better than her current job if she needed extra money. She called my job, and Thea's job, dirty blue-collar trash, and left our home. She posted about how we wouldn't let her stay online, and now my relatives are messaging me about, how could I let a single mother and 3 kids be homeless? How they're your blood, and you owe your sister better than that. I feel like a complete jerk even though Thea told me I have every right not to want them in our house. Am I the idiot? After dinner with my ex-brother-in-law, edit. Thea and I went to dinner with my ex-brother-in-law tonight. He brought his laptop and showed us all of the documentation. 1. Lucy used her proceeds from the house to pay for her attorney, even though my ex-brother-in-law offered to pay, timestamped emails to prove it. 2. The woman living with him is his niece, not his affair partner, as Lucy claimed. She came to the meeting. They have pictures and phone records showing that she is my ex-brother-in-law's older sister's daughter. 3. Lucy cheated. All 3 boys aren't his, and DNA tests show that they all have different dads, so Lucy has been having multiple affairs. 4. The $300 he is sending each month is a goodwill payment for allowing him to be a dad for a few years. 5. Lucy isn't waitressing, she is working for Amway and another company called Sensi in direct sales. 6. Lucy won't do an apprenticeship because it doesn't fall under traditional gender roles. Posts on a second social media account. 7. Lucy has made hateful posts on social media about me and my wife and blocked us so we didn't see them. In the end, IDK what to think. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, well, message every single one saying you should have let her stay, that you will let her know their place is available. 2 bedrooms is way too small for all those people. She is 34 years old. She needs to figure things out. She needs to get a job. I am sure she is getting child support too. What did she do with the money that she got from the buyout? I'm assuming she has shared custody and doesn't have the kids all the time. She could be working 2 jobs then. She could have a part-time job when the kids are gone as well as a full-time job. If you let her in, she will never leave. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You should be so proud of the great life and the great job you have with Thea and your pets. Seriously, good for you, and I'm not saying this at all in a condescending way. I am genuinely cheering you on. It wasn't in a whole move of her to ask, but it sure was of her to insult your very respectable careers and ask you to get rid of your lovely pets. Very rude. She could have a respectable trade making a good deal of money, but she threw that in your face and insulted you? Not the idiot. Also, if her husband bought her out, why isn't she having a tiny house built? Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my update. It's been a wild few days since my last post, and a lot has happened that I need to share with you all. After the dinner with my ex-brother-in-law, Thea and I were left reeling from all the new information we learned about Lucy. We couldn't believe that she had been lying to us and everyone else for so long. It was a lot to process, and we spent the next day just trying to wrap our heads around it all. The following day, I decided to reach out to Lucy and try to talk to her about everything. I thought that maybe if I approached her calmly and rationally, we could work things out and find a way to move forward. Boy, was I wrong. When I got to my mom's trailer, Lucy was there with her kids. I asked if we could talk privately, but she immediately started yelling at me, accusing me of trying to turn everyone against her. She said that I had always been jealous of her and that I was just trying to make her look bad. I tried to stay calm and explain that I just wanted to understand what was going on, but she wasn't having it. She started bringing up old arguments from when we were kids, saying that I had always been the favorite and that I had never had to struggle like she did. As we were arguing, her youngest son started crying. Lucy picked him up and started comforting him, but then she turned to me and said, "See? This is what I have to deal with every day. You have no idea how hard it is to be a single mom." That's when I lost it. I told her that she had no right to play the victim when she had been lying to everyone for years. I brought up the affairs and the fact that she had been working for MLMs instead of getting a real job. I told her that she needed to take responsibility for her actions and stop blaming everyone else for her problems. Lucy was furious. She started screaming at me, telling me that I was a terrible sister and that I had never been there for her when she needed me. She said that she never wanted to see me again and that I was dead to her. I left the trailer feeling completely defeated. I had gone there hoping to fix things, but instead, I had only made them worse. I realized that I had let my anger get the best of me and that I had said things that I couldn't take back. Over the next few days, I tried to reach out to Lucy again, but she wouldn't respond to any of my messages or calls. I even went back to the trailer to try to talk to her, but she wouldn't come to the door. Meanwhile, the rest of my family was still posting about how terrible Thea and I were for not letting Lucy and her kids stay with us. They didn't know the whole story, and I didn't feel like it was my place to tell them. I felt like I was stuck with a big decision. As I was struggling with all of this, I started thinking back to when Lucy and I were kids. I remembered how close we used to be and how we would always have each other's backs. I realized that even though Lucy had made a lot of mistakes, she was still my sister, and I loved her. I decided to try one more time to reach out to her. I sent her a long message, apologizing for the things I had said and telling her that I still loved her and wanted to be there for her. I told her that I understood how hard it must be for her to be a single mom and that I wanted to help in any way I could. To my surprise, Lucy actually responded. She apologized for the things she had said and admitted that she had been struggling a lot lately. She said that she knew she had made a lot of mistakes and that she was trying to do better for her kids. We agreed to meet up and talk things out in person. It was a difficult conversation, but we both listened to each other and tried to understand where the other was coming from. In the end, we agreed to start fresh and try to rebuild our relationship. It's been a few days since then, and things are still a bit rocky between us. But I'm hopeful that with time and effort, we can get back to the close relationship we used to have. I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to put in the work to make it happen. Thanks for reading, everyone. I appreciate all of your support and advice throughout this whole ordeal. Am I the idiot for being mad at my wife for ditching me to move her brother's girlfriend's stuff alone? My wife, 38 years old, and I, 39 years old, have been married for 8 years and have a 4-year-old son. My wife's younger brother, Joe, and his girlfriend are moving into an apartment together at the beginning of June. But the girlfriend's lease is up at the end of April, so she needed to move out. However, Joe currently lives in a studio apartment, so he doesn't have room for all her stuff. Therefore, they were going to move all of the girlfriend's stuff into a storage unit for a month until they get their new place together. A little over a month ago, Joe asked my wife if we would be able to help them move the girlfriend's stuff, and she agreed. My mother-in-law was supposed to watch our son so we could both help, but she fell ill and had to cancel. My wife suggested trying to get a babysitter for that day, but I didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a babysitter to help someone move. And bringing a 4-year-old with us would not be helpful to anyone. This turned into an argument between us, because she said I should help them move while she watches our son since I'm stronger, and I know how to drive our truck with a trailer. I told her that she should help them and have them rent a U-Haul for the day. We compromised by telling Joe that I would help them, but they need to get a U-Haul instead of using our truck and trailer. Then, on the morning of the move, this past Saturday, my wife told me that a friend of hers got sweet tickets through work to a hockey game for that day and invited them. Yes, sweet tickets to a playoff hockey game. She said she would be bringing our son since her friend was bringing her kids too. Great, so not only do I get stuck helping someone move, but my wife and son get to go have an amazing experience together that I miss out on. And yes, this was my son's first major sporting event, and I was missing it. And wouldn't you know it, Joe never got a U-Haul, and his girlfriend wasn't even close to being packed up and ready when I got there. I spent 7, 8 hours and made multiple trips back and forth helping them move. All the while, my wife is sending pictures to our family group chat of how much fun they're having at the hockey game. When everyone was home that night, my wife was surprised that I wasn't in a good mood. She said that I acted like I barely cared when our son was telling us about the hockey game and how much fun it was. I asked her if she was seriously confused about why I was upset, and she told me to tell her. So I started listing off all the reasons I had to be pissed off. She volunteered me to help. She got to spend the day doing something very special with our son that I missed out on. Her brother and his girlfriend were not prepared, and I had spent the entire day doing manual labor. I ended my little rant by telling her that she is never going to volunteer me to help her family ever again. She told me I was overreacting, and that I can't hold it against her that her friend invited them to the game. She also said, I'm not being fair by blaming her for Joe and his girlfriend. Now for a few comments before the update, comment 1, not the idiot. I've helped a lot of people move and not a single one was totally ready to move. It's a spectrum and most are on the not totally packed and definitely haven't cleaned end. Then he didn't even bother with the U-Haul. She knew she was setting you up for a terrible day as soon as she said she was staying home to watch your son. Going to the hockey game was just the cherry on top of your terrible day. Comment 2, not the idiot. It's deeply inconsiderate of your wife to volunteer you without asking your permission first, and doubly so of her for accusing you of blaming her for Joe and his girlfriend when she was the one that volunteered you to clean up their mess. Next time they need help in any way that requires a significant amount of time or energy, if your wife thinks they need the help that badly, she can go. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post and for all the support and advice. It's been a wild 3 months since then, and I've got quite the update for you. So after that whole fiasco with helping Joe move and missing out on the hockey game with my wife and son, things were pretty tense between us for a while. We had a few more arguments about it, with my wife insisting that I was overreacting, and me feeling like she just didn't get why I was so upset. It felt like we were talking in circles and not really hearing each other. But then, about a month later, my wife's friend who had given them the hockey tickets reached out to me. Turns out she had an extra ticket to another playoff game and wanted to know if I'd like to join them this time. I was surprised, but really appreciative of the offer. When I told my wife about it, she seemed genuinely happy for me and encouraged me to go. The game was a blast, and it felt great to finally have that experience with my son. He was so excited to show me everything he had learned about hockey from the last game, and we had a great time bonding over it. My wife's friend even mentioned that she could tell how much it meant to me to be there, which made me feel like she understood where I was coming from. After the game, my wife and I had a long talk. She apologized for not considering my feelings more when she volunteered me to help Joe move, and for not realizing how much it would bother me to miss out on that special day with our son. She said she'd been thinking a lot about our arguments and realized that she needed to be more mindful of how her decisions affect me. I appreciated her apology and told her that I understood she was just trying to help her family, but that I needed her to communicate with me better about these things. We agreed to work on being more open and honest with each other about our needs and expectations. Since then, things have been a lot better between us. We've been making more of an effort to plan family activities that we can all enjoy together, and my wife has been more considerate about not volunteering me for things without asking first. But of course, life always has a way of throwing new challenges at you. A few weeks ago, we found out that Joe and his girlfriend broke up and he's been crashing on my mother-in-law's couch. Apparently, they got into a huge fight when they were moving into their new place together and decided to call it quits. My wife has been spending a lot of time with her mom, trying to support her and Joe through this tough time. I've been doing my best to be understanding, but I can't help but feel a little frustrated. It seems like every time we start to make progress in our own relationship, Something with her family comes up and takes priority. I haven't said anything to my wife about it yet, because I don't want to add more stress to an already difficult situation. But I know we'll need to have another talk soon about setting some boundaries and making sure we're still prioritizing our marriage and our family. In the meantime, I've been focusing on my relationship with my son and trying to be there for him as much as possible. With everything going on with his uncle, I know he needs some extra love and attention right now. Looking back on the past few months, I realize that a lot of our issues stem from a lack of communication and not always considering each other's perspectives. It's something we're both actively working on, and I'm hopeful that we'll continue to grow and strengthen our relationship as we navigate these challenges together. Thanks again for reading and for all the support. It really means a lot to have a place to share these things and get some outside perspective. Until next time, take care. Am I the idiot for telling my daughter she can't monopolize the washing machine after coming home from university? My wife, 39 years old, and I, 36 years old, have a daughter, technically my stepdaughter, but I've raised her since she was 19 years old. From a previous relationship of my wife's, her father is not in the picture, who has come back home after her first year at university. She's picked up a new and problematic issue since she was last home for an extended period of time surrounding laundry. Basically, she has established a boundary where nobody is to touch her clothes. Her reasoning is that she's concerned something will go missing, get damaged, thinks it's just gross for us to go through her stuff, and is an adult who deserves privacy. All fine. We have 3 young children in our home, 9 years old, 9 years old, and 2 years old, so plenty of washing to keep us entertained. The issue is that she has a habit of monopolizing washing facilities to the extent where we're effectively prevented from being able to get any other laundry done. For example, last weekend she put a wash in before work and hung it out on the line at around 11 a.m. She then left for work 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Her wash was dry within an hour, and obviously she wasn't going to be back all day. We had a few days' worth of washing to get through, so my wife, her mom, took everything off the line and folded it. We got through 5 other loads that day. She was not happy when she got home and said that she'd been very clear that we weren't to touch her things. When we explained the situation above, she said it was first come, first served, not something we've ever said, and that since the next day was due to be nice also, we should have just waited to get through it the next day. That really pissed us off. We've offered her a weekly laundry day where we'll avoid using the machines so she can have the freedom to do as she pleases on that day. But she said once a week won't cut it. Fair enough, but there are 5 other people in the house that need clean clothes/bedding/towels. Other than that, all we can really suggest is that she keeps on top of her washing. If she's at home, we'll ask her to clear her clothes from the machine/dryer/washing line as needed. But like any 19-year-old, she has a social life, work commitments, and is often busy. She's upset because she says we're not respecting her boundaries, whereas we've pointed out that while "don't move my clothes" is objectively reasonable, it's not fair for her to do so at the inconvenience of everyone else in our home. Essentially, the last conversation we had ended up with her in tears because we said as long as situations like Saturday keep occurring, we'll continue to move her stuff. Just FYI, we do fold her clothes carefully and leave them in a basket in a communal living area, so they're kept together in good condition, and we're not going in and out of her room. We normally have a good relationship with her, so this is all a bit unusual. We've asked her if everything else is okay, and she says yes and seems otherwise normal in and of herself, and she's normally reasonable, so are we being unreasonable? Edit. So the consensus is pretty much that we're right, and our daughter is being massively unreasonable and that we're being pushovers for not being tougher on her from the start. We've shown her the comments, and unfortunately, she's still insisting that we're the unreasonable ones. We'd never considered the local laundromat and have banned her from using our washing machine for the next fortnight, given she's still unwilling to adjust. She is absolutely furious, and my wife has ordered a lock for the washroom door to enforce the 2-week rule. Hopefully, a couple of weeks hauling her stuff to and from will help her see the light. Thanks very much, all. Edit 2. A slightly calmer update this morning. Our daughter came to talk to us and apologized for the situation. She said she had found the transition back home hard, I get that, and had maybe become a bit territorial over her stuff while at university. All okay. She then asked if she could please have a laundry day, and be allowed to use the machine. Her place of work is closed Mondays, so that's now her day, and we've said that she can use the machine on other days. But if by 7 a.m. Tuesday there's anything in the way or any issues on any other days, we'll be moving her stuff. A genuine sorry goes a long way with us, and while the advice has been to hold firm, we don't really want an issue if the situation can be resolved calmly. We've also made it clear that if her things do have to be moved on any day, other than Monday, which is totally hers, and we get any grief about it, we'll go back to a 2-week ban and there's no going back. Maybe a less satisfying update than the last one, but we're happy we can resolve the problem calmly. She did mention she'd read through some of these comments last night, so thank you to everyone who weighed in. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I hate the weaponization of psychiatric terms. Not everything you don't like hearing is a trigger, and not everything you don't like happening is a boundary. She doesn't like you touching her clothes? Fair enough. You don't like her leaving her stuff blocking laundry? Also fair enough. But framing it as a violation of her boundary, she's made it as a borderline attack. You can't negotiate from there, and your reasonable needs make you wonder if you are the jerk. You are not the jerk. Comment 2, not the jerk. That's not a boundary. A boundary is what you build around yourself. Think a fence. You can build a boundary fence around your life home, but you can't on your neighbors. Sure, no one touches my clothes, but the moment your clothes are obstructing your neighbor, it gets removed. Same with, say, your kid's ball. No one is to take your kid's ball, but if it ends up on someone else's lawn, of course they can move it out of the way. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments and advice on my last post. It's been about a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. After our daughter's apology and the new laundry arrangement, things seemed to be going well for a couple of weeks. She stuck to her Monday laundry day and was more considerate about not monopolizing the washing machine on other days. We thought we had found a good compromise. However, last week, we had a family emergency. My wife's mother was hospitalized after a fall, and we had to rush out of town to be with her. In the chaos of packing and arranging care for our younger children, we completely forgot about the laundry situation. When we returned home after a few days, we found a pile of our daughter's dirty clothes on the washroom floor. She had apparently been using the machine throughout our absence, and when it came time to do our own laundry, there was no room. We had to move her clothes to get our own washing done. As soon as she got home from work and saw her clothes had been moved, she exploded. She accused us of going back on our agreement and disrespecting her boundaries. We tried to explain the situation with my mother-in-law, but she wasn't having it. She said that if we could make time to do our own laundry, we should have made time to do hers too. The argument escalated, and before we knew it, she was threatening to move out. She said she couldn't live in a house where her privacy wasn't respected. We were stunned. We had no idea she felt so strongly about this issue. Looking back, I realize we may have underestimated how much the transition back home had affected her. She had gotten used to living independently at university, and now she felt like she was being treated like a child again. I remember when she first went off to school, my wife was worried about how she would adjust. She had always been a bit of a homebody, and we weren't sure how she would handle being on her own. But she surprised us all by thriving. She made friends, joined clubs, and really came out of her shell. Now, I see that coming back home has been a bigger adjustment than we realized. She's used to making her own rules and setting her own boundaries. And while we've tried to be accommodating, we're still her parents, and this is still our house. We're at a bit of a loss for what to do next. We don't want to push her away, but we also can't have her dictating how the household runs. We're considering suggesting she move into her own place, but we're worried about how she'll manage on her own. I've been thinking a lot about my own relationship with my parents at her age. I remember feeling like they were always trying to control me, even when I thought I was an adult. It caused a lot of tension between us, and it took years for our relationship to recover. I don't want that to happen with our daughter. But I also know that we can't just give in to her every demand. We need to find a way to balance her need for independence with our need to keep the household running smoothly. It's a tough situation, and I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I do know that we love our daughter and want what's best for her. We'll keep trying to communicate and find a solution that works for everyone. Thanks again for all your support and advice. It really means a lot to have a community to turn to in times like these. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.